There's good news for smallholder farmers in developing countries. A new study released here in Marrakesh makes a strong economic case for investing in climate adaptation in the agriculture sector. In this video, we'll show you economically sound solutions for the so far neglected rural areas. Agriculture is an especially sensitive sector to climate change. Farmers around the world, particularly in Africa, are already feeling climate impacts. This sector contributes an average of 35% of emissions in developing countries and 12% in developed countries, excluding land use change. The new report, The Economics Advantage, Assessing the Value of Climate Change Actions in Agriculture, brings much needed economic analysis.
Agriculture has always been considered a risky business, which of course on one side it's true because investing in agriculture in developing countries where the impacts of climate change are very hard is risky. But this report really showed that there can be a real payback and real opportunities, economic opportunities. For us in IFA, the International Fund for Agricultural Development, this is really important because we need the information that comes out of this report for making an economic case and that investment in smallholder farming is good. And smallholder farmers are real agents of change.
The IFAD programme is investing in all kinds of things. Perhaps nearly half of its funding is going into building local organisations, their capacity to plan, their capacity to adapt, their linkages to markets, and particularly women's empowerment. So it's an unusual programme. It's not just about technologies or building and erosion control. It's really about building people's own capacity. What they have found now, or what we found through the study, was that that does deliver positive economic returns across 32 countries, very different situations. We see up to 7 times a return, dollar and dollar, on the investment.
The Paris Agreement, which recently entered into force, revealed the growing importance of agriculture in countries' efforts to combat climate change.
I think Paris was a real step change for agriculture because we've been talking for years about getting agriculture onto the agenda. And when countries came forward with their own offerings, the NDCs, what we saw was that almost all parties put agriculture on there, either as a mitigation action or out of the ones that included it in adaptation plans, 92% of them prioritised agriculture.
There needs to be a coordinative mechanism in place that would ensure that the priorities in the climate action are coordinated among ministries who would manage the fund and who would be executing the fund. There seems to be needs for infrastructure support in water management, improved access to climate information services, and all these seems to point out towards naturally getting financing to implement these actions.
Assessing the value of climate change actions in agriculture is economically sound, but that's not all. Adaptation and mitigation efforts should also make environmental and social sense, improving, for example, gender equality.
One critical fact that we see is that while women provide about 70% of labour, farm labour in Africa, they have access to less than 1% of agricultural credit. Now, it's access to that finance that's going to be one of the biggest enablers of adaptation to climate change. So it's something we really need to do something about.